They hate when you elevate. They stacking up losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope you're doing well. It has been 1 year since I picked up my Nikon Z8, and it's been an experience. So in today's video, I'm just going to give a recap of what I've done with the Z8 over the past year, talk a bit about my thoughts on the upcoming Z6 III, and what I think about the state of the camera world in the future. Before we begin, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support the channel, there are links for items to purchase in the description area of each video. Well, it's almost 1 year to the date since I picked up my Nikon Z8. When I heard about the camera and the release date, I already had plans to go to Mongolia, which is where I am right now, and I flew back to Malaysia to pick up the camera that I had in pre-order. Now, I was a bit skeptical because, we had a lot of anticipation about what we're gonna get with this camera, but again, it's all rumors. Nobody knew anything about what was really coming. I had an A7R5, which is a great camera. I liked that perform, but wasn't in love with ergonomics. After utilizing the Z8 for the first couple of days, I did see some things that I thought were an issue with the camera, such as autofocusing in low light. But I quickly resolved that when I got a Nikon lens. I was using an adapted Sony lens and there were some issues with it, which I found out later on that there was a firmware update for that specific lens from Megadapt. If you have watched my earlier videos and you're like, oh yeah, this camera isn't great, I'm gonna tell you what, that was not the case. That was on me for not using the Nikon lens from the beginning and have an updated adapter to use a Sony lens. So as time went on, I picked up the 70-200, which was a great lens, in addition to the 24-120. I spent some time in Mongolia and shooting with these lenses, shooting eagles, going out in landscape, taking videos and so on. It's been an experience getting to know this camera. I've enjoyed utilizing it, but there were some things that I run across, and there weren't issues per se. I would consider some of them user knowledge or lack of knowledge. My biggest one when I wanted to utilize this camera to walk around town was the in-body image stabilization. The IBIS didn't work the way I expected it to. Well, I shouldn't say the IBIS, the electronic stabilization. The IBIS worked fine for the most part, but when you want to smooth things out, it wasn't quite there. Months later, I figured out how to get it to work properly, and there's a video that I posted about that, so you guys can watch and check it out to see that this camera is actually much better than we believed from day one. And the interesting thing is that Nikon didn't put any information about how the system worked, and most reviewers who reviewed this camera said the same thing. It didn't work as well as I thought it should. But lo and behold, it actually does. I have some complaints about some things I encountered with the camera. And a lot of times I'm the kind of person who goes through the manual, the reference guide to see what's going on, to kind of figure out how to get the best from the camera. And the manual has failed me. And this, I point fingers squarely at Nikon for not doing what I think would be the right thing to do, is separate the video information from the photo information in the camera. I shouldn't have to look up a feature in the video side to be redirected to the photo side to look at it, which doesn't give me anything about the video side. Two separate things, photo, video. They work slightly differently, so please, in the future Nikon, the Z6 III or whatever else you release, make sure you put the information for both cameras, for both settings, just say photo and video, separately. Don't refer us back to the other one on the other side. Take the time to do a write-up so we know exactly what's going on. My time with the Z8 has taught me a lot about this camera. There are times when I've come across some issues and I've made a video about it, and then I also made another video to talk about what I've figured out and how to get things working correctly. And I know some people weren't happy when I pointed out some issues, but guess what? As we utilize the camera and things come up, sure you want to share with others. And if others have information about that they want to share, that how to correct certain things, we would appreciate it. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about the camera because at this point, we all can agree that this is a fantastic camera. Many other content creators and other shooters from different brands are starting to realize how wonderful this camera is. There are not too many people talking about Nikon videos that were previous Nikon shooters. There are a few of us that are talking about that because most of us who've used Nikon from the past are photo people.
Blah, 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 blah. I'm just hearing blah, 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 blah. Every time you talk it sound like blah, 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 blah. I'm just hearing blah, 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 blah. Every time you talk it sound who hurt you. I wonder who made you so mad. Tell me where did you learn to be so negative? You're such a drag.
The rumor mill has started up again, and seemingly we should have the Z6 III by the middle of June. Let's hope this is in fact true. It's going to be more than a year since the Z8 came out and almost 4 years since we've been expecting the Z6 III. It's been long in the tooth as far as a replacement, and a lot of us who are looking for this camera is either gone to other brands. I've picked up other cameras. In my case, I did both. I went to Sony and I got a Z8. Both were great cameras, performed pretty well, a bit out of what I would consider the price range that I normally would shop in. So why would a person like me want a Nikon Z6 III? The Nikon Z8 actually doesn't do 6K, it does 8K. And with me playing around with 8K, the files are really huge. Now I know what some of you are gonna say, but you're getting an oversampled 6K image when you're recording 4K. You're right, that's true. When it comes to the Z6 II and first generation Z6. Would we like to have a straight 6K format? Certainly, we would love to have that. If Nikon gave us a bit more megapixels, which I doubt from what I'm hearing is gonna be the same 24 megapixels, but if they can give us the full 6K, that would be nice. Smaller file size, that's a huge plus. RAW on board, just like the Z8, yes, sign me up. The pictures that I've gotten out of the Z6 and the Z6 II are fantastic. And I've loved utilizing those cameras. I did a video when I talk about me walking around with the Z8 with no strap. I started that with the Z6 and Z6 II. These cameras have a pretty darn good grip and you can hold them in your hand and walk around with it. The one big thing now that I've been doing more videos, as I travel a lot, I would like to lighten my load somewhat. So having a Z6 III with a flip forward screen, much like we now have on the ZF, would be very useful. If they have better audio built in, that'd be nice as well. You know me, I'd be kind of like, hey, give me like a cinema type camera. And let me say this, I'm not a filmmaker, I'm not recording anything for commercial. This is just me doing YouTube. And sometimes I do little projects once in a while for my own self. And some of that you guys get to see. Do I need a Z6 III since I already have a cinema body camera in the FX30? Well, the FX30 is an APS-C sensor. Nothing negative about it. I've got good footage about that. It's just the ergonomics of the camera isn't the best. I've worked with it. It's become my studio camera. It sits on a tripod in most cases. Now, like for this trip coming to Mongolia, I decided to not bring it because I've had some situations where I've had to pay extra fee for having all this camera gear in my bag. So for this trip, all I have now is the Z8. So if I can travel lighter, that will definitely make it better. If Nikon can put a fan on it, do something like Panasonic does, or something you can add on like Fuji, yes, that'd be nice. Flip forward screen, even better. The things that I see that are coming out in some other manufacturers' camera, which I hope will come to the Z6 III, are some of these features that people talk about in their camera, Sony and their AI features. I remember when Apple came out with the, I think it was called On-Stage feature on their iPad, where you could set that sucker down and you were doing a video call and you can walk across the room and the camera would track you. Then Sony came out with that on their ZV-E1, then they incorporated it in the PTZ camera. Now, for those of us who are doing content creation, when I started video, I was behind a desk. In my house, I had a studio set up and I could walk around and take my gear from one side to the other side. Sometimes I would go out of frame. Now, having a camera that can track you as you are filming and zoom in and keep you in focus and zoom out wider to give to allow you to walk around the screen. To me, that's important. And I think to a lot of solo content creator, that is also something that's really helpful. Another feature that I would like to see, and I mentioned it in one of my videos in the past, was if they could incorporate like noise reduction features in addition to AI. If they could basically take a lot of those features that we're doing in computer and get it done inside the camera, it would make life a whole lot easier. Some people like editing their raw files and tweaking things. The new thing nowadays is film simulations or live LUTs or, LUTs. Multiple LUTs basically you can choose from. So people call them whatever you want to call it, film simulation and, having multiple LUTs. These are things that people like to do. And the younger generation want things more simplified. On your iPhone, you could take a photo and you can have some kind of filter that you can put on and make things simple and change the look of everything. Why not have that in your cameras as well? Not everybody always wants to have to go back into the computer to edit. And I know people like, well, it's easier, you can do that. Yes, we've been used to doing that. But if you want to simplify your workflow and you can have a lot of these things done in camera, it will be helpful. Now, the fact that adding these features inside a chip could make it harder inside the camera, that's not lost to me. I come from the IT world, and I know as you add more features, typically you tend to have a chip that's going to run a little bit harder. But Apple has proven with their M1 chip that they were able to incorporate a lot of features inside this chip, make it run cooler, and make it run as a device that's even much bigger than it. A laptop that's doing the same kind of rendering as you can get from a desktop computer. Now, I'm thinking maybe this is what the camera guys have been doing. They've been taking a while to come out with some of these cameras because they're working on some new chip that can incorporate a lot of these features inside the camera. Those of us who've been shooting for a while, these are probably things that we wouldn't think about. The younger generation, they always want the quicker, faster, easier thing to go with. While we got used to certain things for our generation, camera manufacturers are focusing on the younger people right now, and giving them all these wonderful features will benefit us as well. Because when you think about it, if you're a working professional, time is money. The faster and easier you can turn things around, even better for you. And as I talk about that, now I want to talk about what I think is going to happen in the future. I just mentioned a few of those things in the Z6 III that I would like to see, but I also think that these are things that are going to be coming in future cameras. The Panasonic S9, this shoot share thing, they cut out the edit portion. I just kind of talk about, how we can do LUTs in cameras and film simulation, that, as Fuji call it, film simulation, as Fuji terms it. Nikon probably come out with their own naming convention for the same kind of thing. Sony will probably do the same thing as well. So everybody's looking at this way that they can satisfy all these people that want these things that are built in the camera. And if you think about it, it makes things a whole lot easier. How about having an SD card on board? Well, an M.2 type. The Hasselblad X2D has M.2 SSD built in. Yes, those things can generate some heat, but realistically speaking, you don't have to have the highest power one, because we're up to what, 5,000, or I think it's 7,000 megabits per second transfer rate on the desktop side ones. Our CF Express cards are running now close to 4,000, and there's no cameras that can utilize those things just yet. But imagine you can put one of the older generation one that can run the 2,000 megabits per second inside the camera. That's fast enough. That basically keeps the heat down. You can have a really good card inside the camera. Yeah, I think some of us will still want to have a CF Express card because, you spend all this money, you want to utilize some of these things. But that could be your backup. You take that out, if you run out and you don't have extra card, you can go back to what's inside the camera, or vice versa. I think the future is going to give us things that we didn't think that we need, or other manufacturers have been doing, and then not many have been jumping on the bandwagon, so to speak, and say, hey, let's put these things in our camera. But I think camera manufacturers are getting to the point where every 2-year turnaround, it's not going to be what you're going to get. maybe 4 or 5 years before you see the next body, because they're going to work on something and they want to keep the camera sealed. Yes, you have a fan in some of these newer ones, but you want to come up with that next thing that's going to work very well. You're going to need more R&D time to get you that thing that's going to do very well, incorporate the next new technology that's going to satisfy your next group of users that are coming out. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. If there's something that I missed in my list of things that I think is going to come in the future, put it in the comment section below. I want to thank you guys for watching the video and supporting the channel. If you liked the video, please remember to give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please get subscribed. The ergonomics isn't the best, so usually it's reserved to be, why? Come on, you're killing me with this thing. Take care everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.